Good morning. Good morning. Today we're talking about objective reasonableness when a police officer makes a mistake. Let me get this microphone over here so you can hear me. Um, we're going to be reviewing some body camera footage in this video or in this live stream, as well as a court proceeding of a motion to suppress. I'm really excited about this one because the attorney that we're going to be listening to in the motion to suppress is a local attorney in town. He's a board certified criminal defense attorney, and he makes a pretty strong argument. And what we're looking at today in particular is when an officer makes a mistake during a traffic stop, or when an officer makes a mistake of law or during a police encounter, what's the effect of that mistake downstream? Does the case get thrown out just because the officer got it wrong? Or, can you fight back? Or what can you and can't you do? And in the particular case that we're talking about today, and that we'll bring up and watch the body camera footage for, is a police officer responding to a burglary alarm. So he's going to a residential area, burglary alarm's going off. And as he's going to this alarm in progress call, he gets out of his car, he parks his car, but he's on the wrong street. So the officer's responding to a call where he's supposed to be checking for an alarm, but he makes a mistake and he's on the wrong street. And he sees a car pull out of a driveway that he believes is going to be the house that he's supposed to be checking. And it turns out it's not, because he's the wrong street. And the officer stops this car. And the question involves whether this stop is lawful. The stop goes sideways, and we'll dive into that a little bit. So good morning. We got a few people jumping in here. Got a handful of you guys. Let me know where you're coming from, how your week was. I got my coffee this morning. Actually, I got a refill with some Double D. I drink a lot of coffee to keep things burning on both ends. What do we got new? Let me share the screen real quick so you guys get an idea of what we're going to have coming up, but we're not going to jump into this quite yet because I want to chat for a few minutes. So here's a screen share of what we're going to be reviewing, so you can see that next to me. This is out of, it's Volusia Exposed channel. He only has 370 subscribers. It's the second time that I've used this guy's channel. So head over there, give this guy some love or watch time if you're into this type of thing. So this past week, I had a stand your ground hearing that finalized. We had the first part of the stand your ground hearing around July 4th or July 8th or something like that. And then we got all the testimony out. And then after all that was done that day, the judge reset the arguments portion of the stand your ground hearing for, I think it was Thursday. Yeah, Thursday. And so I won the stand your ground hearing. So I'm really happy about that. My client used jujitsu. He's a blue belt in jiu-jitsu and was able to use jiu-jitsu to defend himself. The police ended up charging 4 different people involved, and the state only ended up filing charges against my clients. So anyways, I hope to make a video about that one day, but that still has an open portion of it. Oh man, let me share with you guys. I think you guys will really appreciate this. So I cut out a segment of the hearing from the stand your ground motion, one of the witnesses. And oh man, I don't necessarily want to show you all my email business. So let me close that out. My personal email. Yeah, I wouldn't send anything there because it's kind of like junk mail anyways, and I don't really check it. All right, let me explain before I go searching on here and leave you guys hanging. So at this stand your ground hearing, the very first time it came up, July 4th, after the stand your ground hearing, I ordered the audio recordings from the stand your ground hearing in order to make my arguments better in the arguments of the case. And so in ordering that stand your ground, am I sharing my screen again with the wrong thing? Nope, we're good. So in that hearing, I got to cross-examine one of the victims, and she was not very honest or forthright. And anyways, that didn't play out very well. So let me see if I can't pull this up real quick to let you guys hear it. Bear with me. Man, I don't think I'm gonna have it. All right, well, I guess we'll have to hold off on that. Maybe you'll have to hold off and wait until we Wait until I make an actual video of it. So let's see here. No, oh yeah, I guess we do got some comments. Sorry, I had you guys hidden over here. So good morning, Doc. How you doing? Brevard County, enjoy the streams. Hey man, hey Josh, I appreciate it. Good morning, Ben. Tom from Orlando, Plant City. All right, cool. So yeah, I think this is out of what we have on the screen here. That's the judge, and I think this is out of Volusia, just because we're talking about Volusia Exposed. Oh, you know what I can do is I can share the motion to suppress. That's what I'll do. Give me 1 second. We'll present, share screen, and here we go. So this is the actual document. Remember, I told you that a board-certified criminal defense attorney is the one handling this case. His name's Bryce Akins, I believe. I know him like from around being in the legal community, but I've never really had lunch with him, or I don't know him extremely well. So he's a good attorney, worked for one of the bigger firms here locally in town. And he filed this motion to suppress on the case. We're Volusia County Sheriff's Office, and it's a sergeant that we're dealing with. And so if you read in the motion to suppress on or about July 18th, and so about a year ago, this sergeant responded to a burglary in progress at this address in Deltona. So I guess Deltona doesn't have their own municipal police department, so they use the sheriff's office to cover that. Well, it's during the daytime, he's responding to this burglary alarm, and the sergeant then he parks on Academy Ave instead of Ainsworth Ave. And so he's on the wrong street. So as he's driving down, looking, it's in plain daylight, and he looks up and sees he doesn't recognize he's on the wrong street, but he's just counting the number of houses down that he has for his alarm. Pretty typical. If you're responding to an alarm as a police officer, you're looking up the map. If you don't know the area very well, as you arrive into the general area, and then as you're a couple streets away, you're actually figuring out where you're going to park tactically. And so then you say, okay, if I park here and then I turn on this next street, get out and walk and turn on this next street, I know it's going to be 3 houses up on my left. And so that's what this cop does. It looks like to me, he parks on the street, not recognizing, due to probably the stress he's under. And I don't mean the guy's under like extreme stress, but he's got a lot going on. And he's at first on scene of an alarm call. These usually aren't good, but when they're a good call, it's a good call and goes sideways pretty quick. So it's a relatively high degree of stress at that point in time. And so as he gets on the street, he's kind of counting the houses down. He starts walking up, and he sees a car backing out of the driveway of what he believes to be the alarm house, where the alarm's at. So right here, see Sergeant Weaver observed a Toyota Camry exiting driveway residence, Academy Ave. And then he starts yelling, "Stop the car." So we got the body camera of this. We'll go over that here in a few minutes. No doubt about it that this was it was a mistake. The cop admits that he makes a mistake. And we see something, kind of comparable. The question is, can an officer's reasonable mistake of law be excused and justified? A reasonable mistake of fact. Actually, there's a difference there. So reasonable mistake of law would be like, oh, I didn't realize that it wasn't legal or that it was legal to do a U-turn. I thought it was illegal. So you pull somebody over for doing a U-turn, that's a mistake of law. I thought the law said one thing, it does not. Hey, West Palm, Alexander, how you doing? And same thing, crap shooter, Texas crap shooter. All right, I know that's a gambling craps. Is that what that stands for? It's one of the good games at the casinos to play. But anyways, so we have this motion to suppress, and let's switch back over to that and start listening to that for a couple minutes, because this kind of relates back to what we were talking about with the officer-involved shooting a couple weeks ago in Orlando. A lot of the comments that I've seen and on the media and people I've interacted with have said, the guy was reaching for his center console, so therefore the officer was justified in shooting. And I definitely don't agree with that. And so But nonetheless, that's where we're at, where some people are believing that. And so we have the same thing here. We have a mistake of fact, and is it reasonable? So, what does that mean? If it's reasonable, that's the standard because if all of this results in a detention, we're talking about the Fourth Amendment the whole way through. Whether you shoot somebody or whether you pull somebody over, either way, it's a Fourth Amendment seizure. It's just the shooting someone is the ultimate form of a seizure, meaning detention, that type of seizure, not like convulsion seizure. So with that understanding, the analysis should be the same between an unjustified or justified use of force on either side, because you're doing the same type of Fourth Amendment analysis as you are if you're doing a traffic stop. So, anyways, yeah, let's push play on this for a minute. I'm a little bit concerned about the audio. Well, I guess one, tell me how am I sounding if you can hear me okay, and then I guess two, let me know how this comes out across with the audio. This Volusia County Exposed guy, I guess he's a kind of an auditor of sorts, but he's doing like his own makeshift videos in the courtroom, so the audio is not 100%. Uh, I'm gonna hit play here for a second, and let me know on the audio. I'm gonna talk. This is the officer taking the stand. Pretty typical. He's dressed in a suit. You'd expect normally see traffic cops or cops in traffic stops in a regular uniform, but I think we'll find out he's more of a detective now. So so quiet. All right, I'm coming through loud and clear. Good. Okay, we're gonna fast forward through here. I wanted you to get a feel for it. I kind of want to talk about this, so I wanted you to hear a little bit and let me know on that audio. Were you able to hear his questioning? I can hear it on my end a little bit. It's hard. I listened to it with headphones on already, and so it's a little bit difficult to make out, but it's still important. Okay, so let's talk about this. So we're in a motion to suppress. What that means is this person has already been arrested. The case has gone forward. We've already gone through a handful of court dates. And now the defense has stepped forward and said, hey, there is an unconstitutional seizure here. And they've alleged that in that document. So now the state is going first here to establish that there is no unconstitutional seizure. And the way they're going to do that is through the police officer. So the state is going first here. We won't talk about taking on the burden. That's a whole other conversation. We can talk about it if you're legal, if you have legal knowledge, you're watching this. But the state's going first here, and what they're trying to do is lay a foundation of this officer's credibility. And so these first several minutes here, yeah, you can't hear the video. Sorry about that. Yeah, low on the video. Yeah, that sucks. All right. Well, I'll deal with that and work through that. We'll still see the body camera. I think the body camera is going to be good. So the prosecutor's just asking basic questions about, tell us about your experience. He's a 10-year officer with the sheriff's office. Sounds like a legit cop. I don't hear anything, any arrogance. Seemed like he's relatively honest. He goes through and how he made the mistakes in the investigation. We'll listen a little bit, see if you can hear it. Yeah, you can't hear it very well. So we're gonna fast forward. Here's the video. You'll see what happens on here on the stop. So this is him pulling up to the scene. Now, the defense attorney is paying attention, is going to point out, in his cross examination that the officer has the computer address or the address of the house up here. He has a GPS enabled mapping system on display. The lighting conditions are perfect outside, so there should be no mistakes that are being made. We'll fast forward a little bit. He gets to, oh, that's right. So as he pulls up, there's a stop sign with the street address or with the street name. He doesn't recognize it. You're gonna see a car as he walks up back out of, one of the driveways down here. All pretty standard right here so far. Nothing crazy. You park, several houses down to verify because if it's a legit alarm, then you want to catch it in progress. No lights and sirens. You wouldn't expect that. Now, the defense makes a big deal that he didn't stop these cars. The state never went into it, but I mean, I think the argument, the fact that he didn't stop these cars is because they weren't pulling out of the driveway. This is the car where we're gonna have problems with. And he thinks this is the house with the alarm, but it's not. Okay. So really the house with the alarm is on the backs. Oh, where'd it go? Because I do a whole other job with this. Okay. So the house, the alarm is one street over to the, straight out the, 12 o'clock position from the car right now. And so he's approximately in the same spot it should be, just one street over. Yeah, good map book. Yeah, I got a couple funny stories about map books. But I'll talk that in a minute here, Doc. That's funny. All right. So what do you think so far? I mean, this is obviously doesn't look like it's going a very good direction. Um, what are your thoughts so far? Knowing what you know, if you had to look at that, is this a reasonable mistake of fact? So he thinks he's at a burglary in progress or something going on with an alarm, and he's going to stop the car for that purpose. Do you think that detention is lawful? Give that some thought. So let's keep playing. Where do you think this ends to? Morning, Joe. Okay. Um, what are some of the similarities we have here between this and the shooting incident we talked about in Orlando the other day? Um, if you talk about a traditional traffic stop, you're pulled over by the police. You see the lights behind you. You have a second to prepare mentally, like, okay, I'm gonna pull my car over and get my registration, license, or whatever you're gonna do. But in this situation here, she was not ready for this traffic stop. And so when she looks up and sees police officer in her face, um, the officer caught her in an OODA loop. And this is a really good investigative tool that police use. And it's really a tactical tool. You probably heard this if you got any, CQB experience or law enforcement or military experience. But the OODA loop is a decision making process that you have to, let me get rid of this for a second, that you have to, yeah, I guess I'll do it like that. So, yeah, the OODA loop is a decision making process that you have to observe the problem. So, you have to perceive it. Then you have to orientate yourself to the problem. Then you have to decide what you're going to do. And then you got to take action. So, observe, orientate, decide, act, OODA. And if you catch someone off guard in a stressful situation, you can initiate trips and repeats in that OODA loop and they get stuck. And so it's a really good investigative tool for a police officer to use that to get people to do strange things that they don't normally do, or to say strange things they wouldn't normally say because of the loop. OODA loop: observe, orientate, decide, act. Observe, orientate, decide, act. Um, that's what we were always taught, and from a CQB standpoint, as well as a police standpoint, just tactical law enforcement, that you want to be the one placing the other party into the react mode. So stay default aggressive. All right, let's keep watching this. Volusia Exposed is the channel we're getting this from. So check out that channel if you're watching the video. So he gets, we ended up here. So I think he essentially gets her secured in handcuffs, more of the drama, the same type of stuff, gets other officers on scene. So I guess, what are your thoughts on that? What do we have here for legal issues? Do you think that the fact that this might be a bad stop is grounds to throw this entire case out? So we got a couple different issues. It's illegal for a police officer to arrest you without proper cause. We know that. There's no question about that. But what can you do to fight that? Can you fight back like this? If this arrest is illegal, is her fighting back justified? And the answer to that question is easily no. The Florida statutes allows you to resist an unlawful arrest based upon or without force. So you can use passive resistance without doing anything if the police officer is arresting you illegally. But she's definitely using active resistance here, and that's not allowable by the statute. You can't resist with violence. So what's he detaining her for? So she was the mistake. It's no doubt about it. There's a mistake with the detention. So she was pulling out of a driveway where the officer thought there was an alarm. So as he's pulling out of the driveway, he sees her kind of weirdly navigate, unsure what that is. She's probably not even looking around. And then all of a sudden she looks up and there's a cop in her face saying, "Get the F out of the car," or "Stop the effing car," something along those lines. So he asks her, "What do you have, or do you live here?" And she responds, "No." All of that suggests like the officer is on point here for maybe this is a legit alarm. So I don't think this officer's actions are unreasonable based upon what he subjectively knows. The question is the fact that he misread the street sign and overlooked these other factors, is that enough to say that his mistake of law was reasonable? They find out after the fact that it was the wrong place. And then here's Bryce Akins going through and cross-examining the officer. I wish we had better audio here, but I'm not going to have you guys suffer through a cross-examination like this. It's a good cross-examination, so I wish we had better audio. But he's not standing in front of the microphone, and it'd be a waste. It'd be a lot of time. So I want to fast forward to the next video. He does this video in 3 different parts, and I think the second part really covers. Where is his channel at? Volusia Exposed, part 2 of the hearing. All right. Yeah, you're not going to hear it. Man, Volusia Exposed. I love the channel. I love what you're doing. I wish that I wish we get that audio worked out. So Anyways, so what do we got? We have Doc, you got a response there. Let's see what Sean says. I totally agree with the whole situation. More people are not fond of police anymore due to so many videos of the police doing bad things. Yeah. So I guess what do you mean there? So we should show the police doing good things. I think we have a problem on both sides of that equation, Sean. I think there's a lot of people that mistakenly place police officers on a pedestal that they shouldn't be. And therefore, society grants them these passes, and it allows the opportunity for psychopaths to invade into the police departments and take positions of leadership and take positions of power and exercise their deviant behavior within the police department. It's so much power. It's no different than like the political structure. And so I think we need to breathe transparency continually into the police system or any position that's going to be granting such great degrees of power over to people. So I agree. I guess I don't know if your question saying you agree, like having the conversation, or we paint cops in a bad light. What do we got here? Seems to be a lack of respect on both sides of this. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't necessarily have a problem with what this officer did. I've been there. And so there's a few other complicating factors here. The legal issue we have is whether the initial stop is good or bad. That's the legal issue. The secondary aspect we have is how this officer handled the situation. And this is not a good situation to be in from an officer safety standpoint, that's for sure. So you have a car with multiple people in it who are leaving a house with that you believe an alarm is going off in, and the occupants, that double move leaving out of the driveway seems strange, like they didn't know which way they're going. So that's an awkwardness. And then her response to law enforcement wasn't exactly friendly. And then she says, I don't live here. So the officer has multiple people in the car. She doesn't. I think this officer's response to get this car stopped, if all those facts are right and they're at the right house, is legit. And I've certainly seen people use loud, distractive antics like she was using, whether it be don't touch me or race baiting or gender baiting or whatever that type of baiting is, to draw the attention over here for the police officer so the actions looked over here. Meanwhile, the people on the passenger side of the car are taking care of business, hiding the dope or doing whatever. And so this police officer is put in a really difficult situation here. And I think he handles that really good, put in huge danger situations where I see it. But so officer being in the wrong house to a serious issue, they've been situation. Yeah. So in the SWAT world, when you're talking about going to the wrong house, that's like a huge, huge problem. I was never in SWAT with Orange County, but I've done a few search warrants as the primary arresting officer. If you're going to do a narcotics search warrant, then the Orange County Sheriff's Office has a policy. The SWAT team is going to serve that search warrant to execute the search warrant in order to lock down the house, because there's just generally inherent dangers, associated with guns and drugs at the same time. And so I think I've done three search warrants on houses with the sheriff's office. And each time I did it, when I was the primary detective, as an officer, primary officer or deputy on the case, I would get in the SWAT van, unmarked SWAT van, with the SWAT commander, and or the SWAT team leader, and we would be driving by the target house, and we'd have the paperwork with us. They'd be reading the address from the target house, talking to the driver. And as we pulled out of the target house, I would literally point to the house and we would describe the house as we were going by. And so the lead detective, the SWAT team leader, as well as the SWAT driver, all were aware that we'd be hitting the same exact place. And so the agencies that I worked at, well, the sheriff's office, FHP really didn't have a policy for that, but the sheriff's office was really concerned about that idea of going to the wrong address. But that's a lot different. You know, you mentioned in here about like that's a serious issue with police shootings. I think it's a serious issue if it's a SWAT team or some type of follow up. But I think going to the wrong address happens a lot. You know, you go to the wrong. Yeah, I think that happens a lot. So, serious issue or not, I think it's relatively common. So, what do we got, Doc? Go through some of these questions. Get through here. Man, you guys got so many thoughts on this. Hard to keep up. So, respect has been around since the advent of cell phone. Yeah, we could record and everything. Maybe she's a guest or a side piece. Yeah, exactly. But I think that so night shift. I think the officer treated that the way he should then. Like, hey, you know, what you got? He didn't like demand ID, didn't pull him out at gunpoint or anything. So I think how he responded is kind of reasonable there. You don't have bad audio in the courtroom video. You have no audio in the court. Oh, there's no audio. Huh. Oh, that's crazy. So you guys didn't hear anything on the audio from the dash cam either? You couldn't hear that? I got to really get this figured out, guys. I mean, my goal here is to improve this live stream, and I really want to do it like this. We have a video segment of either a hot topic area with body camera, or there's an interesting legal take on something. And we get some, I'd like to do the courtroom audio of it as well as the body camera video of it. But, you know, obviously, I got to get this audio situation fixed. I thought I had it. There we go. Talking to each other down here. Totally agree. Yeah, but he wasn't at the right house. But he didn't know that. So he doesn't know he's not at the right house. Police are more aggressive against police who are not aggressive or not a threat that know their rights. Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot to be said for that. So Joe's point here is well taken. And I think on this YouTube channel, I kind of talked to like 3 or 4 different people, meaning like there's different targets. A lot of the people on this channel are coming in from a Second Amendment auditor standpoint, where they want to challenge authority and be the face of that and push outward on the constitutional protections to expand those out. So I get that. And if you're doing that, you know, your behavior towards law enforcement is going to be a lot different than if you're just trying to get home and not be hassled by the police and not have any police interaction. And so there's a balance there where that's why I don't agree with everybody says, you know, invoke your Miranda rights right from the jump on a traffic stop. Like you get pulled over, like I don't talk to the police, you know, roll your window down this far and leave it at that. And I just generally don't think that's the best way to resolve that issue if you're trying to slip through the cracks, you know? So let's see what else we got here. Could have heard the interaction, the way each person reproach. Okay, Sean. No court audio at all. No audio at all. That sucks. That sucks. Well, there's a lot of F-bombs dropped in there. So maybe that'll help me out there because YouTube doesn't like that. Well, hey guys, I'm going to wrap this up. There was another aspect of this that I wanted to go over. Maybe I'll touch on it here briefly. Let you guys get some comments in there if you got it. I'm going to pull up a case. What is it? I'm going to Google Scholar. Google Scholar. Okay, Google Scholar is a free case law search engine. It works good for like district courts of appeal. What was that case? It was Littles v. State. No, I sent a text with it earlier. So give me 1 second. So it is Littles v. State, 354 Southern 3rd, 1169. Let's see if this pops. One last time. I know it's in here. 354. There we go. Okay. If I didn't lose everybody on the live stream while I was looking at that, that's awesome. So let me share this screen here. And I want to take a look at this case law briefly. Stop screen share, present. So you should be seeing a case. I'll have to make that full screen for you guys. Give me 1 second. And let me get rid of Doc's comment there. Okay. So this is a relatively recent opinion from 2023. And I know the attorney on this case, and I know the facts on this case. And this case comes down to whether an officer has a mistaken law or mistaken facts. In this case, in Littles, the officer thought the driver was in the left turn lane, and so therefore he pulled him over when he didn't go through the green light. But the guy wasn't in the left turn lane. He was in the through lane. So the officer made a mistake. And the judge in this case seems to bend over backwards in order to justify the officer's mistake. And she upholds the traffic stop as reasonable. And this is the appellate opinion from the 5th District Court of Appeals. And if you recall, the state of Florida has a trial court system that has 3 tiers. I guess 4 tiers. The lowest court is the county court. Those handle misdemeanor cases and like small claims court. The circuit court handles like felony cases and family law cases and personal injury cases over, 50, whatever the dollar value is, $30,000. They just changed recently. And then you have an appellate court called the District Court of Appeals. Now, the county court and the circuit court, each one is within a county. So there's 67 counties in Florida. You have 67 county courts and you have 67 circuit courts. And then the District Court of Appeals, there's 6 of them now. And so each region of Florida has its District Court of Appeals. Then above that, you have the Supreme Court. So we're in the 5th District Court of Appeals, which handles the Central Florida area. And this in particular is Seminole County. And so the appellate judges here looked at this court's ruling, and the court tried to justify the officer's behavior by saying, in its written order, the trial court concluded that Littles was not in a turn lane and therefore could not have missed the green light cycle and did not illegally change lanes in the intersection. The trial court, however, concluded the intersection was confusing due to the nearby construction and that different visual angles produced different appearances. And it's putting this in quotes. So like the court seems to be like addressing some craziness here. So on this basis, and though it founded the question exceedingly close one, the trial judge ruled the officer's mistake was objectively reasonable and therefore denied the motion. So here the court said, like, okay, the guy was in the wrong lane. The officer, because it was under construction, the mistake was reasonable. So as the officer's mistaken view, the evidence clearly demonstrates, as the trial court concluded, that Littles was in the through lane, blah, blah, blah. Where is it? An officer's mistake of fact may provide the objective basis for reasonable suspicion or probable cause under the 4th Amendment because of the intensely fact-sensitive nature of reasonable suspicion and probable cause determinations. The reason the different deference is given to the officers in the field of mistakes of fact is due to the difficult and dangerous situations they encounter, which often require snap judgments. So I think that fits our circumstance here. We have a police officer who is walking up on a situation. The car is pulling out. He has to make some quick decisions. And so I think the court is going to grant him some deference here. The court is also recognized, blah, 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 dangerous. I want to get back to the other part about where she talked about the court. So here, to begin with, nothing about this intersection would confuse an objectively reasonable person. So there's a footnote here. Let's go down the footnote. Using the definition of reasonable person and interlineating officer for person, a reasonable officer is an officer who exercises a degree of attention, knowledge, intelligence, and judgment that society requires of its officers for the protection of their own interest, own and others' interest. Okay, so let's go back. So the court concludes that there was nothing confusing about the intersection for a reasonable person, let alone an officer with knowledge of the local roadways and conditions. The intersection signaling had a standard left through lane signals. The markings for the lanes, the turn arrows on the roadways were unmistakably defined and visible. 2 dedicated lanes for left-hand turns only, each with its own turn signal, were adjacent to the through lane. The officer was familiar with these turn lanes as it explains how they facilitate a right-hand turn into the Wawa. Okay, the construction at the intersection was no way a basis for the confusion as to which lanes, blah, blah, blah. So the court here is saying that this is no way, the court here is attacking the trial court's allowance, but you've got to get past the trial court first. If you have a judge who is a true believer, kind of like we were talking about earlier with, I'm not sure which one of you guys said it, but, I took it that, I think you said both of them make mistakes or something like that. And maybe I misinterpreted it. So whatever. But I think if you have a person who believes that all the police officers do the right things and have the best interest in mind, if that person's sitting at judge, as we have here, and you don't have a prosecutor that's looking at this objectively, that's a dangerous situation, and the circuit court, the district court of appeals here kind of calls that out by putting this trial court judge in quotes. So in here, the ruling on this, because the officer's mistake of fact was not objectively reasonable, the traffic stop was improper at the outset, making it unnecessary to address the issues, blah, blah, blah. So there's a lot of stuff that we can go in further there. There's a big difference, though, between this case and our other case. Did you see it in the body camera video? What's the difference between this case and the other case that is going to be a big problem? Let's see if I can get that body camera video back up. Did I save that or did I close it out? Dang, I think I closed it. Oh, no, I got it good. So I'm pulling up that body camera video case here right now, or the video we watched. So what was the big difference that we have in the two? I'm getting ready to share the screen. Maybe. Oh, here it is. Stop screen share, present. Windows. Oh, you know what? I found out a mistake. If I share the screen as a Chrome tab, it shares the audio. If I share it as its own screen, then there is no audio. All right, so give me 1 second. I'm trying to get that part fixed and share. And this is hard. All right, so you should have audio now on this portion of it. We'll get to it as he's approaching. So what's different about this car? It doesn't look like we're sharing now. What's different about this car? Why is that not? I'm working on it, guys. I'm working on it. All right. I know you guys can't hear it now, but you'll see. We don't need to hear what's going on. Oh, here's what's different. This is a shit show. Sorry, guys. Right there. So what's different in this screen right here that is not the case in the other scenario? The car's windows are tinted. And I don't know if you can see it. It shows on mine, you can't. I don't know, my system's running out of RAM. So I'll just leave it alone. The car's windows are tinted though. So that car is now backing out onto the street and the windows are tinted. That's a violation of law right there. But the officer didn't observe that violation, and it's not the reason why he pulled the car over. Do you think that should be grounds for this traffic stop to be legal? So, hear your thoughts on that. I'm gonna go through some of these questions, and there's a lot of them in here, a lot of conversations. So, you don't have to be bad. Audio, no audio. We talked about that. Please place yourself on that pedestal. That's why so many are resistant to them. Yeah. Yeah. Encounter with Leos in Bay County. It could have been a real bad, but I found very professional. Good. Good. Yeah. The audio, man. I'm working on that audio, guys. So Doc says he's a 14-year-old. I'm actually working on that. I got some pretty big things planned right now going on in the business realm regarding the channel and regards some other things. So hopefully I can have somebody with these live streams helping out soon. What was the judge's ruling on the case? I don't know. Tom, that's a good one. So I looked at this last night. Maybe I can try to pull that up right now because I have the motion to suppress. I don't think it's been ruled on yet. Because this is relatively recent. Let me pull up the Volusia County Clerk of Courts, though. If I can't find this quickly, then we'll give up on it. But I'll share that screen with you so you guys can see what I'm doing or how I'm going about it, if you care. Okay, so search public records online. I want to go to case inquiry. Share this tab instead, accept. All right, can I just paste it in there like that? Nope. See if it gets formatting issues. This should be circuit criminal. Oh, it looks, felony, there we go. Yeah, I don't know if I'm gonna find this easily, guys. So yeah, I wish I had that better for you. That would be let me do one last thing, try like that. Probably gonna try two more things. Why is there a 2020 in front of that? All right, I don't know. I'm not gonna get it up. Tom's like, hey, asshole, don't be doing a video on something if you don't have the judge's order. So sorry about that. I'll get that part fixed. Maybe I'll put the answer down in the comments. Maybe you can look at it later. All right. I'm gonna go from the bottom up. Didn't apply the same standard for reviewing body camera for a traffic violation justified. I'd apply the same standard. Court ruled police need a search warrant, review the video. Since I guess I can't go from the bottom up. Hit that like button, y'all. Yeah, thanks, Night Shifter. Yeah, I'm not really worried about that right now. You guys are my crew, and you guys are my testing grounds. So I appreciate you guys hanging out. I like discussing this stuff. And as I get better and as I figure it out and kind of I get an editor on board that can get this stuff prepped for me, then the channel will definitely improve, and I'll probably make this more consistent with branding and all that stuff. But for the time being, I'm just trying to learn how to live stream and entertain and hang out with you guys and learn who my audience is. So I appreciate it. Court will police need a search warrant to review the case since they had not articulated contraband in their own eyes at the scene. I apply the same standard. Miss your dog day. Yeah, I didn't bring the dog out today. Had a lame run this morning. I've been really big into heart rate training. About 5 years ago now, I went about 300 pounds down to about 220. And now I'm back up to about 230 pounds. And I want to drop back down. And I'm really a big believer in that zone 2 heart rate training. And so today I got out, got a couple miles in the belt, but all really slow. And the dog would be too hyper because we didn't go long or fast enough. The dog would be too hyper to be here in the office. Yeah, man, I was in the Army. So yeah, it was a long time ago. I guess my phone's in the way there. Yeah, that's my I love me wall. And right above that is the last unit I was at with the sheriff's office, the evening traffic unit. It's kind of my going away gift I got for the team. Made like one of those character things that you get at Disney. So, all right, guys. Well, I'm gonna hop off. I appreciate hanging out. It's important that we're educating ourselves on the law. The world is in a crazy place right now, and we need solid men that are willing to stand up to the powers that be. And I pledged allegiance to the flag and to the ideas behind the flag, and that requires a commitment to push outward against freedom or towards freedom. And so doing this, you're partaking in it, so much appreciated. Have a good one, guys. Talk to you next week.